Hey there, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. So, for this one, we're going to go ahead and go over the passives, because that's not something that I ever really covered. The passives for the transformed states of the units, but we're also going to incorporate Mobile Man's calculations to see how truly absurdly busted the new LR Super VEGITO and LR Super GOGETA are going to be. Hope you guys enjoy this. Subscribe if you're new for more content. That being said, tomorrow I will have a team build guide for the new VEGITO, and then the following day I will have one for the new GOGETA as well. And I've just been trying to put in more thought about it, because as far as that goes, there's a lot of different ways that can go, like more DPS type of things, more damage versus more, all-around builds or things like that. And then also different types of content you take on, right? World Tournament, nobody cares about World Tournament. Super Battle Road, you know what I'm saying? So different things. So keep that in mind. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new. And we're going to go ahead and break this down. Now, by the way, Super Battle Road may or may not be achievable unless you can funnel in enough units to fill out the team, right? You get my point. All right, so the first and foremost, the passives. So Super VEGITO's passive is when he transforms. I talked about the transformation state and that it basically occurs on the 6th turn from the start of the battle, one time when you are below the 50% threshold. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's one time. They'll do it and they'll stay transformed for the rest of the battle. But when you're below the 50% threshold, Goku and Vegeta will either fuse into VEGITO, depending on the card, of course, or GOGETA. And then from there, the passives change. So the passive turns into 150% attack and defense at the start of the turn for both of the units. They both get that. They also both get, for every rainbow orb obtained, they get 3 additional ki, and then recover HP up to 100%. So again, that's why I was talking about Super Battle Road, because that passive is incredible for there. So all of that is the same between the two units. They both do all of the things I just said, but the split off is Super VEGITO gets the normal VEGITO mechanic and that he's able to counter, while Super GOGETA gets the ability to be super effective to all enemies. And those are two of, if not the de facto 2 best passives in the game. So it's awesome that we have those on LR category leaders and units that are just going to be incredible for a very long time. I mean, we see still how Super GOGETA, the STR variant, is still viable in certain scenarios, right? And he is from the very first anniversary of this game, and it's all because of the merit of how powerful super effective passives are. And for that exact same reason, AGL VEGITO, while he has been kind of, of course, outclassed, just like the old GOGETA has by the new, AGL VEGITO, if you were to use him today, would still destroy most content in this game, if not all of it. So, as far as these units go, a lot of people kind of, and I like to do this because it helps me be educational. A lot of people don't really understand how broken counters are in particular, and it is something that recurs a lot when it comes to VEGITO units like LR VEGITO Blue, like the Tech VEGITO, and it's like, oh wow, they're not getting counters, they're gonna suck, or they suck, or they this and that. And I will say that Dokkan has a massive power creep, but there is some semblance of them at least trying to make units balanced among other units, because these two are incredible, but they're not just far and away 30 times better than every other summonable LR, right? So there is a little bit of balance between what has already been previously established until they do a meta shift where they change leaders and stuff like that. So when it comes to VEGITO, his average attack with his tremendous damage on his counters and all that is 5.7 million. That is a really, really, really high number, okay? And for that exact same reason, GOGETA's average attack is 3.5 million. So there you see the difference between one single hard hit versus multiple hits that just, amount to more damage. And I was going to say this earlier, this is something that has occurred with the new VEGITA that just came to global recently. A lot of people don't really seem to understand how, he's a harder hitter than everybody else basically in the game right now, aside from the LRs. And it's not that he's a harder hitter outright, because his initial super probably does like 600k, but it's all the other hits, the little counters that do 300 or 400 or 500, depending on critical hits or type advantage or things like that. It's all of that stuff that amounts to this. And then, of course, links and passive boosts and stuff. So the VEGITO, right? it's kind of unfair because it really seems like Gogeta is in a position where he just can't win. I mean, if you look at the teams, like just as a rough draft, Vegito's team just seems so much better than Gogeta's can be. But I'm not going to discount the fact that, again, that is an incredible passive. So here are a few other scenarios. If they transform once every fight, and this is something that I didn't talk about. I could have said something earlier that might have been mistaken. We don't know, as far as I know, we don't know if they stay transformed for one turn or if they can transform indefinitely, stay transformed the entire fight, or if they transform for one turn and then just revert back, right? And that is very important. I think it would be kind of stupid based on what's been previously established in the game. But if they do plan on making these cards, summonable easily, like as like a Dokkan Festival, for example, first LR from the Dokkan Festival, because there are not ever, and hear me, ever, any LRs that are pullable on the Dokkan Festival banners. For good reason. For them anyway, not for us, but for them. They do it because, of course, Dokkan Festivals are the main draw to the game. If LRs aren't on the banners, they're still going to pull anyway. But if LRs on the other banners, you're definitely going to pull on other banners. So it's all marketing. It's all just a ploy to get your money. So that being said, if these guys do wind up being that, I guess it would make sense that they don't make them incredibly overpowered. But in terms of what's been previously established in the player base, of course, we probably will want them to stay transformed. But he has some estimates. If they transform once every fight, here's the average attack stat there. If they transform once every other fight, there's that. And then there's this, and there's that. Also, keep in mind, too, these numbers, I'm assuming, without going into detail with much what he said here, could be different based on the team outcome. And that's typically how this works anyway. So he said if new details emerge about these units or it turns out something that has been found in the database is incorrect, the attack calculations below may end up being changed in the future. Also, each LR has a long official name, but he's going to go... and then he also breaks down how he calculated these units and why he calculated them the way that he did. So in conclusion, we're going to pull up his conclusion. As you can see, the new LRs are certainly powerful, but they aren't game-breakingly ridiculous compared to other summonable LRs. The condition to transform is quite difficult, especially on an optimal team led by these two, so it's hard to say what their actual overall attack is. I think you'll be able to transform at least once every 5th fight, so their actual average attack should be higher than the minimum average attack listed. Let me go ahead and go back up here. So, basically, he's saying that with an optimal team, okay, and this is very important, with an optimal team, you're probably going to get to see them maybe, right? You may not get to see them transform. You will spend majority of the fight with this unit as being Goku and Vegeta. That's the point. You will spend majority of the fight being Goku and Vegeta. So these numbers right here, like for example, how big this damage gap is whenever they transform, that's basically what he's talking about. So, and I'm imagining that these numbers actually right here are relative to their non-transform state, if I'm understanding that correctly. I don't want to feed you false info. The most important thing is the transform numbers because, again, they're already going to be hitting ridiculously hard anyway because they're going to be Goku and Vegeta, and they have a bunch of different combination attacks, and they get the 18 key super because they're still an LR card. So, as stated in the introduction, these calculations are based off of currently available data. The condition to transform is quite difficult. I think it would transform once every 5th fight, so their actual average may be higher than the minimum listed below or above. So, yeah, just wanted to go over that with you guys and just show you the massive disparity, for example, between one mechanic versus the other and why Super Vegito cards just keep being ridiculously good. The only other mechanic that can even match to these two is the additional attack one. The additional attack one is actually busted. It's what allowed units like LR Broly to just output so much damage and continue to be a threat as far as damage goes. The new Vegito, by the way, has been the hardest hitting Transcend UR since his introduction. He outputs a lot of damage, and in fact, it's down here. He's at roughly 2.8 million, right? So he's actually, if he's talking about an attack stat, that's actually higher than the Goku and Vegeta non-fused, right? So aside from that, second place is now Physical Vegito, 2.36, and that actually changes based on the teams that they can be under. And this is why people are mad about, and always have been mad about units like SS4 Goku. Why is he not on the hardest hitter list? Well, because he's under a 120 lead. These two units just got a 150%, 170% leader skill. Both of them. Potara, just got bounced to 170. Fusion just got bounced to 170. So that affects all the units that are possible in those teams. So, you can imagine that units that weren't so good will see a rise. And honestly, I think that the biggest benefactor of a boost like this, and I'm going to talk about it a lot more in my showcase, in my showcase, yeah, but in my team build video, I think the biggest benefactor of this is the STR VEGITO Blue. I think he is probably the biggest benefactor of this due to the fact that he's an LR. So we'll talk about that in the team build video. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe if you're new for more content. And down below, if you guys are interested in Fire Emblem Heroes and you want to help me out, even if you don't like the game, I would implore you to click that link. Don't sign in. Just vote for my boy Marth so he can win the election. And anyways, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy, guys.